Hello, this is Bradley Thayer coming to you on behalf of South Mountain College. Course is CIS 163 and it is Java 1. This is week 6, so we are on Intro to Object-Oriented Programming and Arrays. This video will specifically deal with object-oriented programming. A separate video will go deeper into arrays. Please reference chapters 2 and 4 in your text. If I move over to IntelliJ here, excuse me, what I've done is create a class called square. Okay, so these little forward slashes, all they mean is a comment. So it tells the Java compiler to ignore the code that's here, because I'm going to use it in a minute, but I don't want it to be considered yet. Okay. So all I've done is I've created a class square, and what does a square have? A square has a side, right? And we use the side to come up with the area, which is what we're doing here. The area is going to be side times side. I create an int area, and then I print it. Right? So that's the definition of the class. So we consider the class like a blueprint. So you look in your math textbook, it tells you how to take the area of a square, and then it gives you a square. Okay, you can consider that like the object. This is what this is here. I have to have an instance. I have to actually have a square before I can take an area. I can talk to you about how to take an area more abstractly, but when I actually do take the area, I need a real square. And like your textbooks, you can have multiple squares. You know, one page you'll have a square here with a radius, or excuse me, not radius, sorry, excuse me, a side of 10. The next page you'll have a square with a side of 4, right? So you can have as many squares as you want, but they all follow the same blueprint pattern. So here when I run this program here, I should get the area with a side 10 and the area with a side 4. And there it runs, 116. So the area is 100, area is 16, just like we expected. Okay. So that's your first example there of an object. You have a class right here, and when we create an instance right here, that is an object. That word instance, you've heard it before. You know, somebody might say, did you have fun? And you might say, well, I did in that instance. So there were specific things about that point in time that made something fun. Okay. But it may not have been fun the next time. All right, so that's how you can take your everyday experience with the word instance and kind of port it over into this talk of objects. This instance of the square class, the square blueprint, has a side of 10. This instance has a side of 4. Think about a circle. All right. So I have a radius. I'll get to the string in a second. I have a radius. And then the area is pi times the radius times the radius. You remember this math.py from, I think, your second week. All right, so I have an import statement here for the java.lang.math, and then math.py. Then I'll print out the area of my circle name equals my area. Okay. So why this my circle name, and why this string? Just to introduce another concept here, this here is called a constructor. This constructor, right, tells us some of the default behavior our circle might have. And you'll notice here that I have two different constructors. The syntax is to have the class name followed by any sort of inputs you want to put in. Down here, when I call when I create this instance of circle, you'll notice I didn't do a my circle dot radius is 4. I didn't do that. I used the constructor. So you notice it passed it in here and it set the radius. So what is this syntax here? Overusing the word this because it's part of the definition and it's everyday language here, but this that I'm highlighting, the word this dot radius, it refers to the radius that's part of the class, or in the case down here it's the object. So this radius right here, this radius, it equals to the radius I'm passing in. So this 4 I passed in is what I'm highlighting there. It's what I'm highlighting here. And this right here makes what I'm highlighting there turn to 4. So my circle name is Bob. I never touch. And so when I print this one, when I run this program here, circle, I get an area, and I've named my circle Bob. So when it runs, the area of Bob is 50.265, so forth. If I take these comments away, you'll see that this circle, my circle 2, is going to use this constructor. Passes in a value of 10 and Steve. And now I've saved 10 into that radius, and I've saved Steve into that string. So when I run this now, I get the area of Bob and I get the area of Steve. So now I have constructors. I can come back over here to my square class, and that's what this is right here. So I'll create my square constructor. I'll go down to here in the main method, and I'll put 10 here and 4 here. I no longer need these lines, and now I'm back to where I was. All right. So you've seen the constructors work. Now the question is, what happens if I want to call or create an instance of square in another class? And that's what I've done right here. This is a print square class, but I'm creating an instance of square in it. What we like to do is exercise a concept called encapsulation. And that's where we put all the logic we want in our class. Meaning, like right here, I don't want to set aside, I don't want to have my new square dot side equals 5 here. I don't like that. That's not good at all. Constructor's fine. But as far as like directly accessing this side variable, don't want that. I want to, whoever's calling it here, I want to control how they work. So that's the concept of encapsulation. What we do is we set this variable to be private. Immediately you'll see this is an error. I can no longer I can no longer access the side variable because I've made this private. Here within the class I can say my square 1.side equals 50, that's fine. I'm in the class. Over here I'm not, and it's because it's private, I can't access it. That's what we want. And then if somebody needs to actually set something, we'll allow them to do it with what's called an assessor or a setter. Okay, I'm sorry, a mutator or a setter. They're going to change the value. So instead of saying my side, dot side, I'm going to call the method set side and pass 5 into it. That way they're going to give me 5, and over here I have full control over how they use it. If they set the variable directly, I don't have any control here. But now I can put anything I want to, any logic I want to, I can put here. Right? I could put logic that says it can't be an odd number. I can put logic that if this was a double, that rounded it up to the next integer. Lots of things I could do. The point being is I get to choose right here what happens. Same with a getter. This is a getter right here, or an assessor, accessing the value. So instead of saying something like print can't do that because it's a private variable. But what I can do is I can say, okay, I want to get the side, and that's what I've done right here. So I'm going to print this twice to show you it change. So I started off with a 2, I'm going to print it, I'm going to change it to 5, and then I'm going to print it. There you go. I can get the area, what I've done right here. Okay, so it's going to call this area of square right here. So now when I run it, it should be 2, 5, and 25. Another reason we like this encapsulation is because I can put something like this, private int area. And instead of printing it out here, inside my area of square, I can just set that area value. Okay. So when I run this here, this doesn't print anymore. It just sets the value of area. Then I can create this getter right here. And get, allow the user to access the value, the get area. So I'm going to print it right here. And then when I run, you should see the same things down there. So run print square. The beauty of encapsulation here is because I can allow the user to get the area, but I didn't allow them to set the area. We want to calculate the area. They know the side of the square. They give us the side. We calculate the area and allow them to get it back. What's the point of a program that calculates the area if the user can set it? We don't want that. We just want them to give us the side, and we'll allow them to get the value back. So you'll notice here there's a set side and a get side, a get area, but there's no set area. So there's no way the user can actually adjust this value from the outside. Okay, so that is, these are right here just some other examples I had. I think we've already gone through these. So what we've seen is a class creating an instance right here. We then saw the constructor, and here in circle we saw that we can have multiple constructors, and then we can call a class, or excuse me, we can create an instance of a class that's an object from a different class, and we can hide our values with the private access modifier. And then through encapsulation, the concept of encapsulation, we can use these getters and setters to allow the user to actually get values and set values. But again, the reason we do it is because we control what happens in here, rather than giving them access to control. We control our own destiny. Right. So that is your intro to objects. If you have additional questions, please post them in the discussion board, or please feel free to email me privately. Thank you.